Hey YouTube, I went to Uwharrie National Park with Goin Coastal Jeep Club and we did the Dutch John Trail, which leads into the cattle chute, and this is the washouts that are on the right hand side of the trail leading up to the cattle chute. And as you saw in the title, one of the Jeeps actually broke when we were out there. So Kimberly's driving obviously, and there's Grace, our Corgi, and these are the washouts. So on the washouts, there are two paths to get up to the cattle chute in this direction. The right-hand side is a washout, and then the left-hand side, where you can see some other Jeeps behind those trees, is a bypass. And the bypass, you could almost like ride a bicycle up the bypass, like a 10-speed bicycle, not even a mountain bike. And obviously, the washouts can be a little bit more difficult. The beginning part of the washouts up here is the easier section, and then a little bit farther up is a harder section, and we're going to kind of jump back and forth between different Jeeps in our group because they're all at different kind of spots, and I'm just walking around with a camera trying to get some different footage. Although this is a white Jeep, this is not my Jeep. I know, like, I have almost the exact same cooler, but that's not my Jeep. That's a different Jeep. You can tell from the license plate being in a different position, and my antenna is not blue. But anyway, so that's one of our Jeeps. So she's going up the hill and up the washouts, and you can. One thing I'd like to point out is she has her tires right now in the ruts. That's fine to do as long as the ruts are really small and mild. But if the ruts get to the point that they're bigger than the tires, then basically the idea is you want to straddle them instead of driving through them. And so the concept of straddling them would be moving the Jeep like a foot to the left or a foot to the right. So then the big hole is like between the tires instead of having the tires like in the holes. That's kind of like the general concept. But since the obstacles here are not too big for the Jeep, it's okay to obviously drive in the ruts. And you can see I don't know if she has lockers or not. I saw like the front wheels and the rear wheels spinning at the same time. So this is my Jeep right here with Kimberly driving. And with those big 40s, I think that's probably the biggest tires that ever come out to Uwharrie on a regular basis. So maybe slightly bigger, but not a whole lot. So the ruts are not going to be too big for her, so she can pretty much just drive wherever she wants, and there's not really going to be too much fuss with trying to figure it out. So these are like some of the smaller ruts that I'm talking about that you have to make it up, washouts. You can see there's different spots in the trail where people have dug up, and the side here, like next to me or whatever, it's like 4 or 5 feet tall. Standing next to it's actually pretty tall, and you can see it just kind of goes up and up and up, and as you go up, the obstacles get bigger and bigger and bigger. The CJ there, that light blue one, is the one that broke, but it hasn't broken yet, and you get to see it break. So that's a CJ5. The way that you can tell that it's a CJ5 is if you look at the doors are not square, like the bottom part of the door is not flat. It has that big kind of hoop up to go over the wheel well of the rear tire. So that makes it a CJ5 instead of a CJ7. It's a short wheelbase Jeep. The other thing you can tell is by looking at the fender flares on the side and the taillights on the back. You can get a pretty good estimation of even what year that CJ is, and I can just kind of guess at it that that is a late 70s CJ, probably like between like 75 and 80. Probably it's like 75 to 1980. Probably it's within that time span or era. And I just happened to used to own a CJ in that same time frame. That's why it was so easy to identify, because the taillights look exactly like the taillights that I have. And the CJs were built for like decades. So mainly it's like taillights and accessories that kind of help you determine like which year it is. I'm assuming he hasn't changed the taillights. So here comes Kimberly, and she's once again just driving up in the tire ruts or whatever, which is totally fine because you can see she has like plenty of clearance. Now I know that a lot of this camera work is totally awful, in that like it's not like it's shaky or whatever. I will let you know that like I actually have a gimbal now. Like my wife got me one for my birthday, which is awesome. However, I did not have the gimbal with me at Uwharrie, So it's going to be probably like 2 or 3 weeks worth of videos that we're going to see until you actually get to see, buttery smooth camera footage of the camera not like kind of, jumping around a little bit. And that would be assuming I use a gimbal more frequently. I've shot one video so far with a gimbal. That was the Tuffy video. That was maybe a couple days, maybe like a week ago. Like, since it'll probably take a week for you guys to catch up to this video. But it was posted in mid-December. Um, so you get to see, even here you can see that she's sliding and she pops in her lockers. She could have backed up and just gunned it a little bit or whatever. But even on 40s, like with lockers, and she's not stuck on anything, it's just low traction. You can tell that like these trails actually, they're not like nothing, but they're not like terribly difficult either. So there she like got over the hump. The problem is volume at Uwharrie. There's a very low volume of difficult trails or even moderate trails, and there's a very, very high volume of very basic trails. So here's a CJ in front of us, and you're about to see shortly a break, if that's like the main thing that you want to see. So here he is, he's trying to get up this this hill, and I'm not spotting him. He's being spotted by Eddie up there. So if it was me, you'll get to see me do this in a few days or whatever, because we did this the very next day, I would have backed up maybe like 20 feet and gotten a little momentum, and then I would have just like tried to not gun it up the hill like really fast, but I wouldn't have just like stopped like right there on the spot like that. Momentum is just so helpful. So somewhere around now, his steering brakes, like not to kind of give it away, but I think it just broke, because you can see that they're all like looking down and we're like, hey, what the heck's going on? And what he's saying is like, you can see in the window he's moving his steering wheel, and you can see the wheels are not moving. So that's a different problem. So we'll pause the video or whatever, slow it down significantly so you can actually see specifically like what the problem is. And if you're mechanically inclined, you can already see it if you are looking carefully. But if you're not mechanically inclined, we will make it very obvious like what's wrong. So like watch like really carefully like right now, and you'll get to see the problem. That is the thing that connects to the steering wheel, like right there. That. So the steering wheel turns that, and you can tell that that is now attached to all the steering stuff underneath it. So that's a major problem, like when the steering wheel is not physically attached. So I wave Kimberly off the obstacle or whatever, and get her to just pop out up here. And like I was saying, you can always get out of a lot of these obstacles at Uwharrie, because it's just kind of like wide open. And I get her to pull up next to the blue Jeep, so then we have access to my tools. And we're just going to get my tools out and then just try to do some kind of trailer hack on Jeep, to try to get it up and running. So this has been sped up, so you don't have to like watch hours and hours of them fussing with a Jeep. And this isn't even the complete footage of them fussing with a Jeep. We probably sat here for a good 30 minutes with people trying to get tools out and trying to figure out how to reattach the steering assembly. And so like really like the key thing is like there is a bolt, I want to say, that holds the steering in place. For the life of me I can't think of the term, but there's a bolt that goes into the steering there that holds it in place, and apparently the bolt was gone. So it was just sort of like sitting there, but it wasn't like locked in. And I don't know if like the bolt fell off on the trail, or if like it was always loose, or like whatever. But here you go, he has it hooked back up so he has some steering, but the bolt isn't in there to hold the steering in place. So that's like really a problem. So we're trying to basically get the Jeep like out of this obstacle, and he's going to just pull out the same exact way that Kimberly just pulled out. And unfortunately, with like where we are with these Dutch John like with the trails that you are being so bloody long, the shortest way to get off the trail is actually to go over the cattle chute from here. And so like that's what we're gonna do. He's gonna go over the cattle chute, and then we'll get him to the parking lot and everything. And there was quite a few people that were a little bit upset with us because we were blocking like that section of the trail for so long. It was like 30 minutes or 40 minutes, but whatever, they can be upset. And people just had to go around them. And that's the thing, like the problem with Uwharrie, there's very, very few kind of cool obstacles. And when one of the obstacles has a broken Jeep on it, then like a lot of people kind of feel, um, like what they were expecting. Um, they can't do. So like whatever, but we got it fixed, so that's all good. And he's joining our group. So the next video will be the cattle chute, which is what we're all lined up to go do. And we're just gonna head up the cattle chute, and you'll get to see another thing at Uwharrie. Thanks.